Looks like people are here. There's 5 likes. The likes are going exponential, and I haven't even said anything. Thanks, guys. Figured we could talk about Gulchi. What up, man? Figured we could talk about a kind of a trading journal of sorts to start off with some structure. I hope the audio is crispy. Fresh bag of crisps. The problem is this is delayed a little bit, so like if I ask you guys a question, it's going to take a second for the stuff to populate, but I think the general feeling, you guys tell me in the chat, how are you feeling? Bullish, bearish, or neutral? I think the general feeling is neutral across the board. You know, I don't know of anybody who's like mega bull. I don't think anybody's mega bull right now. I know a lot of people want to be, but I don't really see that. You know, then you gotta divide that into like, okay, what are we bullish on? Are we bullish on NFTs right now? No. I'm just gonna say, you know, not NFTs. Although, you know, there's a case for that. You can have like a distressed NFT fund. Neutral, neutral, neutral. Okay, so it looks like stacking cash. You know, it's funny you say that, Dom, because I don't know if I've ever had this much cash in accounts ever. It's kind of a bizarre thing. All right, so chat is feeling neutral. That's kind of where I'm at too. I'm very much in the neutral camp myself. The question is, you know, this should really say like cash, right? The question really is like, how do you allocate for this? None of this is investment advice, per usual, blah blah blah. We're just thinking out loud here. Bullish on pain, that's fair. I think everyone's expecting a move lower. The flows are poor, the liquidity is poor, and everyone's just kind of waiting for something to happen, right? So from an allocation perspective, what do we even do here? You know, like I said, for me personally, and this is just good to do for yourself at the very least once a week, but at least do it once a month, right? Just make sure you check yourself before you wreck yourself. Like for me, this is like 95% plus right now, okay? We'll say 5%. I don't know about chat, but, and then what are we even looking at? We'll talk about it, but Link is an option, Sol. I don't know what I mean. ETH, I guess, you know, ETH is an alt. I kind of forget ETH is an alt. I don't know of anything else specifically for me, the way I trade. I know some people like, you know, super low time frame trading, blah, blah, blah. That's not really for me. So, you know, I think if we have the flows, if we have general bullishness at post-halving, then we can talk about alts. I think now is not the time, continues to not be the time. 95% Monero. All right. I mean, that's a vibe. I don't hate it. So as far as like a cash allocation, for me, again, like it's the highest it's ever been because yield, right? I don't even know if there's an answer that's realistically the highest it can be. You know, I don't know. Whatever your appropriate appetite is. Like, yes, I get it. We think the government's going to fail and everything's going to explode and the dollar's going to zero. I understand that, but in the moment, you know, what are we doing, right? How are we allocating? Sol ETH Link, aka the Sell portfolio. Yeah, look, there's a reason it's at less than 5% for me currently, okay? And we're not talking about massive allocations here. This is the short list of stuff that doesn't look like absolute trash. I'd even argue Sol doesn't look great, but yeah, so cash, we'll get to the yield stuff. And then legacy, I don't know, it feels very choppy to me. That's just me. There is a potential like cup and handle on SPX. We'll look at QQQ. Anyway, like there's some stuff there. I don't know how tradable it is in the moment. We'll look at, you know, the Elite 8. I just don't, everything, like you go to consumer staples, you go to Walmart, Dollar General, Target, banks, even energy doesn't look good. And that's after this stuff in the Middle East, you know? I don't know what there even is to trade right now. You'd have to go through the sectors and see if there's even any setups worth thinking about. I haven't seen any, so I haven't really talked about any. No one expects the bottom without a black swan. Well, you can't, it's not a black swan if you're anticipating it. You know, that's the thing right now. I feel like everybody's anticipating bearishness or lower lows or a washout, whatever. That's fine, but that just means we're not getting flows, we're not getting buyers, we're not getting bidders, right? People are either waiting for ETF stuff, people are waiting for something on the GBTC side, whatever it is. So it sounds like generally the 30 people in chat, 36 people, however many people are in chat, are kind of on the same page here. I don't know if that's good or bad. It's the first time we're doing this, you know, we're doing it live, so that might be bad. We'll see, we'll find out next week if, you know, BTC's up 10,000% and yields go way down. I don't think that's the case. We had CPI today come out for the United States of America. And I actually wrote this last night. CPI flat month over month, but it's still greater than 2%. So CPI came in slightly above expectations, like 0.37 month over month versus 0.3 expected. Anyway, it's nothing. The energy issues are interesting because, again, with this Middle East stuff, the argument for oil to go higher was there, certainly. But today I saw U.S. oil production is at an all-time high. We're getting more oil production out of less rigs, and we're doing really well on our side of the pond. So all the SPR doomers can just keep crying because in the moment, we're okay. You know, we don't really have insurance if something goes wrong, but we're doing okay. PPI came up 3 months, rising past 3 months. Yeah, that's like maybe a potential like death knell for inflation. I'll look at inflation in a second, but I'm not really seeing inflation in the, again, this is all like today, right? This isn't to say like 6 months from now inflation is going to be a problem, but I'm not seeing inflation on a year-over-year basis heat up again. You know, I think a lot of people are calling for that and expecting that to happen. I just think it's going to be a bumpy ride between 3 and 5%. That's just what it is. That's the new normal. The Fed minutes came out this week too, which for those unaware, is it like the pre-FOMC meeting or like the day before FOMC meeting? You know, there's a recording of what happens in those meetings, and you get sort of a better view of what's in the mind of the Fed governors. Anyway, they all kind of said, look, it's higher for longer still. Are we restrictive? What are the risks, right? What are the risks for over tightening? What are the risks for inflation? I don't know. There wasn't really anything there, but they definitely didn't signal that they're going to start bringing rates back down, right? So no surprise there. And generally QT's still going on. We still have the Fed rolling whatever off their balance sheet. Liquidity's down, arguably, although in China they're starting to rev that back up again. So not really a great picture for anything to happen in the moment, right? I think the big thing is like, how do you best sit and wait? How do you allocate for whatever it is, right? You know, whatever it is you think is appropriate. I'm trying not to give investment advice because this is not what that is. This is, right? This is just, we're just spitballing here. We're talking about potential possibilities. The Binance problem is still there. So this probably is advice, you know. Get your stuff on Binance. If you've got anything that's Binance adjacent, just put it somewhere else in the time being. You know, it may take another 6 months for Binance to get itself straightened out, but it just doesn't look like anything I would want to be a part of. But that's just me. We are seeing generally coins getting pulled off of centralized exchanges, which I would argue is a good thing, although based on correlations to previous bull runs, you may argue the opposite. You may say, despite logic, coins being sent to exchanges is actually more bullish than bearish. Maybe. I don't know. I don't know why I put Dexus here. I guess just, you know, if you're looking for a place to trade leverage in the US, maybe GMX. Just throwing it out there. And then on the fixed income side, I know a lot of people had an interest in like bonds and like what to do there. There are so many options for people. There's this thing called a bond ladder. Again, I'm not an expert. This isn't investment advice, but one thing you could do is like put a certain allocation of your cash across the board here, spread it out, right? Everyone's like worried about bottom ticking TLT or something, or top ticking rates or whatever it is. These are ETFs options, right? I like SGov currently just because I want to stay away from TLT. I want to stay away from long duration stuff. But then you've got Apple Pay. I don't have Apple Pay, but I know that's an option. And then Robinhood. Doesn't Robinhood give you close to 5% right now? I don't actually know. We'll take a look at TLT today. Yeah, I mean, look, as Victor's kind of pointing out, like there are options even above this if you're willing to hold duration, even if rates go higher. Like that's still pretty good, historically anyway, right? Based on the past 10 years. I saw a pretty scary article talking about the potential for yield curve control, which means the Fed would basically hold rates at a certain level and then just buy anything above that, kind of what Japan has tried to do. So I think a lot of people are celebrating this. They're celebrating TLT. Like they think they're heroes and they caught the bottom, but I don't think that's going to be the case. I think this is going to attempt for a lower low. And again, remember, if rates go up, prices go, that's a P, not an R. Prices go down. So that's what we saw this entire time. And that's a problem, you know? And this is people thinking that we're going to return to the prior decade and rates are just going to snap back lower and everything's going to be fine and this is a great time to buy, right? Because they're looking at this. Let's go like weekly. You know, they're looking at this trend and they're thinking like, oh, it's kind of the opposite, right? It's classic human psychology, but they're looking at this trend thinking, oh, rates are going to come back right back down. This is rates, by the way, not prices. Rates are going to come right back down into this range. We're going to return to some semblance of ZIRP, zero interest rate policy, effectively. And it's going to be a bond bull market. And, you know, I just don't think that's the case. Just put some TA on this bad boy, right? Let's put this on here. Let's go monthly. That is a mega breakout, right? That is a mega breakout. So Yada, I agree. There's all these people who are so sure that they caught the bottom on TLT. And there's a great argument for, don't get me wrong, rotating into this stuff when rates hit a certain level, because the expectation, again, based on previous history, is that those are appropriate rates to start earning a yield over the long term, right? Like you'll be okay, effectively. But if this time is different, man, those people just get blown out of the water. And the only real way that they can be saved is yield curve control, or the government just stops spending and issuing debt. But I don't think that's going to happen. So anyway, so people piling into TLT, which they have. I mean, look at the volume, look at the flows. I was talking about the put call ratio. People piling into this thing think they caught the bottom. They're going to be a hero. I hope somebody's right, but I just don't have confidence in that. Anyway, so that's TLT, right? Like you can go long TLT and just play the volatility, I guess, right? But the real problem is the banks and the institutions who are down 60+%, right? Whatever this is, 50%. I think it's less with reinvestment of dividends or whatever, but the problem is if you were buying bonds like SVB, loading the boat at 0 interest rates, long bonds, long duration, and you've lost this much value, you're stuck. You know, you're absolutely stuck. So if you're willing to eat the volatility in the near term, this is for you. But another issue with this is people are trading this more than they're trading the legacy markets in some respects because of the volatility. So we almost need this bond market, the like bedrock of the financial system, to just chill out, and then maybe risk can catch a bid. But there's still a lot of uncertainty here with rates and the Fed and just general direction. So thank you, Victor. He's posted in the chat. So the TLDR of this fixed income discussion is if you don't have bids on the book, if you don't have cash just sitting, in an exchange or a DEX, whatever, right? There are tons and tons of ways to get yield on your cash right now. So that's the other problem with risk is that, look at this list. There's so many ways to not put money into Bitcoin right now. There's so many ways to not throw money into crypto. And we've had the benefit of 10 years of 0 rates, right? And we're dealing with that transition now. So for me, it makes sense if there's uncertainty, like the amount of certainty you need to have to actually participate in this market right now has to be astronomical relative to the yields you can get in any of these ETFs, Robinhood, USDC, whatever it is, right? There are so many options if you want to stay in crypto, if you want to stay in a brokerage, if you want to go, hey Dave, if you want to go to a bank, get a CD, the CDs are even getting decent now, right? There's tons and tons and tons of ways. So I would highly suggest getting informed and educated on this stuff because you're just leaving money on the table if you are not participating in some way, in my opinion. And again, that's a problem because the money isn't sitting on exchanges in bids, right? It's getting soaked up by these products. And that's just part of the times, right? Let me catch up with chat. Thanks for showing up, everybody. I'm never sure because it's like such an odd time, I just kind of do it on the time that's kind of best for me. Alt reckoning, yes. Alts are ugly. NFT stream will be the top. I don't know if I'll ever do an NFT stream, honestly. Now, if we're talking about like utility NFTs, then yes, but the NFTs we've had so far, not so much. Saw that whales are dumping ETH. Yeah, it certainly looks like it. We'll look at BTC and ETH in a second. 10-year going to 5. I agree. Yields are going higher. They're just issuing debt, more and more debt. Everybody thinks like, oh, it's over, right? Again, I hope I'm wrong, but guys, if I'm not wrong, it's just gonna get so ugly out there for the people who are just loading the boat on something like TLT. Victor, I'm in UPRO and TQQQ. Are those inverse? I don't know what those are actually. How many black swans do we need? I agree. Yeah, Joey, talking about the military industrial complex stocks. I just try to avoid those out of principle You know, if I'm leaving money on the table, so be it. But I try not to participate. Render, I'll add that to the list. AKT. All right, so that's enough of that discussion. We'll get to the charts in a second. I just thought I'd put this together yesterday, and just to give me a reminder of things to talk about. AKT, render. Scheduled stream feature. No problem, Paperclip. Caspa. Yep, somebody else asked me, Matt asked me about Caspa. At least for 5 months, Skolshi. What are you talking about? Savings account up to 6% in Canada. Yeah, I mean, look, there's FX trades that I don't even talk about because I'm an American and we're the owners of the world. So I don't really pay attention to the rest of the world as much as I should have. But there are opportunities beyond the United States for yield, and I'm sure there's some great stuff that people are doing. I'm just not like aware enough to even discuss that. XMR. Pentelga, what up, dude? Long time no see. LMT, is that a coin? Thanks, Dom. All right, so for BTC, look, we've got halving soonish. It's not soon enough. Like, it's gonna be a while, and it's gonna get probably hairy, right? You know, there's like 5 people left in crypto. Just keep that in mind, right? I wouldn't expect a miracle, as I've said a couple times, anytime super soon. And we may not even have a cycle post-halving. You know, you got to prepare yourself for that as well. One thing that's interesting here, if I can click this link, hash rate has just started to skyrocket. I think a lot of it is price agnostic and or just like super dirt cheap, zero cost electricity and energy. And that's really good for the network. So the difficulty just keeps adjusting higher and higher and higher. So we'll see what happens post-halving, but I can imagine a day when we transition the network to like very odd stuff, like collectively, you know, like methane capture or something, where it's not like these industrial miners in the United States. It's just like the most random stuff globally, and that's great for the network too. You know, we need all different kinds of folks. It's a big tent. So to see hash rate still going up despite price tells you that people are finding profitability, or they're expecting profitability post-halving, or they're just trying to squeeze out the competition, right? It's very much survival of the fittest. So I think this is good news, and this actually pushes halving up slightly in between the difficulty adjustments. Not by much, but slightly, right? So we're sub 200 days on difficulty, or halving now. This was the ETF stuff that bubbled up yesterday. And there's a lot of bureaucracy with filing these ETFs through the SEC. And there's a lot of back and forth, and there's a lot of, you know, lawyering and things like that. And one of the lawyers came back with the news yesterday that they've updated filings, or they're starting to update the prospectus, whatever it is, saying that, look, this is a really good sign that they're not just flat out denying this, and they're actually working with the SEC. This is the ARC 21 shares spot ETF. So if we start to see news that all the other issuers are starting to work with the SEC to refile their prospectus or something to that effect, you know, that's really good news. And they sort of summarized it here as far as what the SEC wanted them to add to the prospectus. So this is always good news rather than just flat out denial, right? Or giving them some obscure reason. You know, what they needed to add here is kind of silly, but if we want to play in their sandbox, we got to play their game, and that's just the way it is. So I think this is really good news. People generally think this is good news as well. So that's good for the ETF story. The next thing coming up is tomorrow. If tomorrow business day closes and the SEC has not appealed the GBTC decision, that is also very bullish for the ETFs getting approved, sooner rather than later. So we're starting to get our ducks in a row here, and everybody's talking about a black swan, but what about the white swan? What about ETF approval before the end of the year? How crazy would that be? I don't know too many people that are necessarily talking about that. I think there's a lot of hopium on when it'll get approved and things like that, but I don't think many people are expecting ETFs sooner rather than later. They're expecting them in 2024, right? All this hashing could be cranking out superior LLMs. Yeah, Bearable makes a good point regarding AI. At some point, some of these miners, especially after halving, could easily, I think, shift to their data center style hardware to AI. So that's another reason to maybe not fade these industrial miners too hard, because if the AI story continues to pick up steam and places like, I don't know, Marathon, CleanSpark, whoever else, right, start increasing their AI footprint, things could get very, very interesting. I know Core Scientific is a hot mess as a business, but they do a lot of self-hosting or hosting, right? So I don't think it's out of the question for these businesses to attempt something like that. So yeah, something to watch for. So it may not be all doom and gloom for the mining companies if there's so much free electricity everywhere that the network just gets taken over by free electricity, right? And just tanks these businesses. They may have an out through AI or compute, whatever it is. Back to BTC. For technicals, we'll talk about head and shoulders. We'll talk about the 28K resistance that never broke this week, and we're still below the daily cloud. ETH, I don't know. You guys tell me. I'm just continuously super bearish on ETH. ETH is great if the casino is full and people are banging on the door and banging on the windows, right, to get in. That we're just not seeing that. So you may have some long-term view on ETH. That's fine. I'm not going to disagree with you with the possibility, but in the meantime, it does not look pretty. Let me pull up the Lido stuff as well. I wonder if that got any worse. 32%, so it didn't get worse. Got slightly better. Then I have a list of alts we'll take a look at. So let me pull up some charts here. Pentelga, I have faith in ETH, okay? Look, people need a place to go to gamble. I get it. It's NFTs, maybe it's sports betting. Yeah, it's kind of an unsaid competitor to alts is, in my opinion, sports betting. If people feel like they can do better, even though they probably don't, sports betting, there's a lot of your retail money as well. Thanks, Andy. Good to see you. Yes, we will talk about dominance. Should we start there? Should we start with dominance? Let's start with the dominance, I guess. So let me pull up the better chart. Historically, we really didn't have enough data to even bother to do TA on dominance. People historically did TA on dominance anyway. People were very much aware that dominance was waning. Just starting from a baseline, the problem is if you don't make this equation yourself and you're constantly adding alts or taking alts out, or alts get delisted, there's so many variables here over time. It is very hard to know what's actually in this thing because it's not like the dominance equation on TradingView is like retroactively changed when stuff falls out of the bucket, right? So just keep that in mind. Like this is very, very loose, very imperfect, general broad strokes idea. You know, in here you had like Roger Ver saying like, you know, we need bigger blocks because we're losing out to the entire ecosystem. And, you know, in here you had Sam of FTX just dumping money into the ecosystem that was, you know, fraudulent selling assets. Right? So like, I think the TA is valuable. I think it's useful. It gives you a general trend, but it doesn't always tell you the full story, you know, so just keep that in mind. My read on this, so I'm looking at an EMA here. This is the 200-day EMA. Historically, alts have done best when dominance is breaking lows, right? It's breaking down. That's like not rocket science here, but we haven't seen that since the beginning of the year. Since the beginning of the year, it's just been kind of a moonshot, right? And to me, that's expected if we have this flows imbalance potential with the ETFs, right? The ETF hype started, I don't know, months ago, right? And then the BlackRock stuff helped, and everyone's looking at the risk conversation and saying, I'd rather be in fixed income or bonds, treasuries, whatever, relative to alts. And sure, I'll own some Bitcoin, but I don't want to touch the other stuff until flows improve. So it just kind of makes sense to me that this continues to go higher. We had been ranging before that. If we want to like maximize the TA here and look at where this could go, I think a realistic target is that 60% level. Just looking at this, right? Previous sort of pit stop, previous pit stop on the way down, previous on the way up, right? It'll be interesting. It'll be interesting how high this spikes, but it's, to me, doesn't signal alts, right? Alts are not the play. Sorry if you can't see that. I just realized my head's in the way. Alts are just not the play, right? So I think TA is valid here, sure. You know, it's funny, this kind of looks like the 10-year yield conversation, right? It's like people are rotating into alts thinking that BTC might be overvalued relative to alts when this value could just keep going, you know, keep going to 60. Just reading chat. Oh yeah, as Andy mentions too, like, I don't know if this is what he's referencing, but stablecoins are another part of this conversation. You know, do we even include stablecoins in the dominance picture? I don't know. You know, I think there's a good argument to not include them, honestly. But you could look at stablecoin dominance. You can make your own basket, right, of layer ones, whatever it is. You could look at ETH dominance. I know people like that. TLDR, I think this goes higher. I like this going higher. Just makes sense, right? People shoving money into alts right now? No. Until that changes, you know, why should we expect this to go any lower? It seems like every day I look at ETH BTC, it's down. It wasn't down yesterday. Yesterday was a bit of an oddity, but just doesn't look like there's a lot of appetite out there for alts in general. And let me talk about Total 3 while we're here. I talk about this in the alt videos. This is a total market cap of altcoins, slightly adjusted. So I pull out stablecoins purposefully. I pull out wrapped Bitcoin from the equation. And this kind of gives you almost what every other chart looks like. You know, every other chart kind of looks like it just wants to let it go. You know, just give it up. Give up the lows and just nose her down. You know, this is ultimately an entire retracement of 2021. So until this turns bullish, I don't think, you know, any other alt season metric to me is kind of silly because this gives you a sense of the flows at least, right? And we can look at stable coins. I talk about this all the time. Just kind of get sick of talking about it, but USDC's flattened down, Tether's kind of flatten up. Is there people issuing Tether and redeeming out of USDC? Probably, right? It's hard to exit the Tether ecosystem. Not impossible, but it's difficult. There's some friction there. Excuse me. Whereas USDC, you can do it for free through Coinbase, right? So I think that's honestly Tether's fault more than, sorry, not Tether, USDC's fault more than anything, you know? They have a more regulated product. Their entire reserves at BlackRock, they are the golden child, and yet they cannot hold on to any circulating supply whatsoever. And if you scroll back the tape to 2021, when DeFi was in its heyday, both of these were adding circulating supply. So it just, look, it seems pretty obvious that that was not a great time to be in alts or crypto in general. It's not great. Not great in general. So it's tough. It's tough because we're all here. We want this to do well. And I think we just need a lot of patience. As Victor said earlier, no trade is a trade. Fixed income yield is a trade. That's perfectly fine, at least for me, right? You do you. We'll see what happens after Friday. But I don't think you can be mega short because what's your downside? There's not a lot of juice left to squeeze out of that, in my opinion. So, I'm DCAing every week. I'm getting yield through cash. I'm holding a few things, mainly Bitcoin, very little ETH, and just kind of waiting, All right, so that's Tether. I saw someone reference, did you say TA on Tether? Is that what you said? I don't think that's what you meant. Sorry, let me just pull up now that I'm thinking about it. The ye old Tether relative to a dollar chart. Still doing okay. Anyway. All right, where do we want to start? BTC? Let me find a good chart. I have too many windows, guys. Sorry. Dollar's back up, which is a problem. Kind of an odd day all around. I think this is probably the best chart. Look, you just need the daily cloud, people. You don't even need anything crazy. What did I say Sunday on that video? I said, if we're not above 28, we're going to have a tough time because the cloud is there, the 200 week is there, 200 day is there, and the 20 week is there. So we've turned down from all of those moving averages. Not a great sign so far that we've been unable to get above that as support, right? We're still ranging, which is fine. It's not like the end of the world, but we had a shot to break out. We're still at the yearly pivot. Cross our fingers. Things look okay. We just kind of have to drift aimlessly here long enough to not break down below 25, because if we break below 25, that's when things really start to get ugly, And I think generally people are just kind of waiting for something to happen, because we're not seeing a lot on the flow side. Rates, regulation, ETF, halving. Those are the top four, and we can also talk about this thing. I think it's on this chart. Yeah. I don't even know if we're going to make it to get this right shoulder. Again, though, the only reason not to be mega turbo bearish is at any day we could have some ETF announcement, right? So I still think the smartest play is to just be patient, be chill, accumulate slowly, dollar cost average, non-investment advice. If it goes lower, buy more. That's what I always tell my family. Like, look, if you see it on the news, just buy more. And we wait, That's just the state of things right now. You're either waiting for positive news on our side of the house with rates regulate, not rates, but with regulation or ETF stuff, or you're waiting for QE to come back via yield curve control or stimmies or something to break, But this setup doesn't look so hot in the moment. And if we do get back to 25, it just, these are charts are going to come out in force, and you're going to have people selling this down significantly. So I'd watch for that on the BTC side. And if BTC starts to break down, ETH, man, I would love to see ETH below 1,000, mainly because that's where I want to buy. And I talk about this all the time, but I want to see the stakers get stressed. I want to see the ecosystem flip the freak out, because it's been a whole lot of like free ride attitude, like this will be fine, ETH is going to go to infinity, we're going to get real world assets, we're going to get all these banks issuing tokens, blah, 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 blah. But I think there's a possibility that, this could just fall off the table. But again, though, the problem is if you're loading the boat on a short and we get some headline that's favorable, you're on the wrong side of that trade very quickly. Very, very quickly. Why is the market not going down? Oh, why is it going down? Today, yeah, I don't know. CPI was fine. I don't know, this list, my whole list is red except DXY and oil, basically. UJ almost back to the, speaking of yield curve control. So the Bank of Japan is trying to keep their dollar below a certain level. They're trying to maintain the 150 level. And they sold off the other day, this big spike down. They sold this off on purpose, and it's right back to that level again. So, they're just going to keep playing this game. And the question everyone's asking is, how long is this going to go on for, right? How much debt are they going to take on? What are they going to do? I don't know. I don't know an answer to that, but excuse me. If we look at our side of the pond and the potential that's coming for yield curve control in our rates, look out. Look out for that on our side. But this chart looks super bullish, right? Anyway, that's UJ. I don't have anything good to say about ETH, so I don't even know what to say. Does anybody have anything good to say about ETH? Even the yield on ETH is down, Let's be objective here. It is below the daily cloud. Had a key June rejection, had a cloud rejection. In retrospect, if I was just watching the cloud, that's an excellent short at 17 based on this. I was too much on the bullish side earlier in the week to even think about wanting to short that. I think this was also the ETFs announcements, right? The futures ETFs. Anyway, still bearish there. What about the yearly pivots? No help there. Pretty much an abyss of blackness. If we go to where's all my EMAs? That's a 2200. Let's go to the 1400. So ETH is below its 200 weekly and its 200 day. Again, there's just this congestion of resistance. So maybe what you do is you set an alert at like 1780 for ETH. Do this on TradingView. If I remember how, there it is. Add alert once per bar. And you just forget about it for a while because that's kind of the level, 1780. Bare minimum. Realistically, you want like 1990 or 2000, but alternatively, where would I want to buy this at? Maybe set an alert at like 1380 just to get ready. I don't know. I don't even know. I just don't have anything good to say. I really don't. I would say buy when the ink look, when the bankless guys look sad. Sentiment on permabulls is definitely one way to gauge what's going on. I respect the grind. I respect people building on ETH and all that stuff. There's just too many layer 2 options. There's not enough traffic on layer 1. What else are you going to say? It's slightly inflationary. And this could all change tomorrow, folks. Keep that in mind. So as bearish as I am today, like, look, we could have some positive news tomorrow, or non-news in effect, and we're back above 1780 or something. That's why it's very hard to gauge this, I think, from a trading perspective right now. All right, so that's ETH. I don't have too much to say. Something else to watch. Okay, we'll talk about this too. Is the this is really why, I'll clean this up a little bit. This is really why I'm bearish ETH and Bitcoin, for that matter. I still think this is a valid head and shoulders setup. Depending on how you want to measure this, look, it's not pretty, We're talking 1300, somewhere in there, or less. But ultimately, I don't think anybody's doing anything until we retest 3 digits, Then we'll see who has their religion and who doesn't. We'll see how iron-handed those stakers are at those levels. All right, let me move this to the second screen so I can see the list. Let's go to Kraken Pro. Sponsor of this very stream and channel, by the way. Love Kraken Pro. That's where I do all my trading these days. They have so many alts. It's astonishing to me what they have and what they've listed over the years. Which, at the end of the day, if you're looking for a legitimate exchange to trade this stuff, it's much better to me than going offshore. But anyway, all right, we have a list. Feel free to shout out any tickers in the box, and away we go. Solana, I just don't know. Is it dead money? The thing here about Solana is it's had so many inverted head and shoulders, double bottom fractals. Like, you can see a little tiny inverted head and shoulders there. You can see one here. You can see a macro one here. There was a bigger one here. It's trying to do something that's reminiscent of a bottom. Let's say it's a soupçon of a bottom. It is trying. And I don't even like Solana. I think it's centralized garbage, okay? Just to be clear. But it looks decent compared to a lot of these other alts. So from a TA perspective, I think 25 is still the level. 25 would be the level where the market as a whole probably turned around a little bit. And maybe this just continues to chop You really don't want to see a lower low here on Solana below 17. And, you know, if ETH goes to 1,000, Solana's going to 10. Okay, I think that's fair. Even though that's a 50% move to the downside. Just assume that anything further down the market cap list, people are ready to toss it, right? They're ready to toss it over the ship extremely quickly. Because they're just not willing to take the risk, you know? Is Solana a play during an alt season? Sure, it's a layer one. There's a community. There's people that use it and talk about it. And whatever, right? There are devs. Good for them. But any network that resets itself over a Discord isn't for me long term. But trading wise, it looks decently okay. You know, it's half dead, but it's not fully dead like most of the market. So I don't hate it. I will look at XMR. Dr. Manhattan. I know a lot of people are surprisingly still kind of bullish on XMR, which I don't think is a bad thing. I like XMR a lot. Sol BTC as well. It's just kind of, you know, it's here. It's trying. Does it look like dead money to me? It would take me personally a lot to want to sell a BTC for Solana. But this is the beginning of a bottom at the very least. You want to see a violent range. You want to see long duration, which you're getting like almost a year long in this range. You sort of have to fade the FTX stuff, the unlocks or whatever from the John J. Ray stuff, you know. Do I have confidence that this thing holds this range? I do. Could it go lower? Sure. But, you know, it hasn't really made a higher high. So it's tough to want to jump into that in a big way. Sorry, I'm just reading chat. Is it rude to ask how much the average sponsorship deal? I don't know what the average is. On the internet computer, less than adding complexity. At least ETH isn't internet computer. Okay, that's true, Joey. That's very true. Soul pumps when Sam goes free. Sam better not go free. There's no justice left in this world. All right, that's Solana. We'll talk about Link because I know people love their Link. It's been in the range. I drew the super messy TA. I mean, is there anything in a range more than Link is right now? You gotta ask yourself, what is the opportunity cost here relative to yielding and right, like some 5% plus yield versus waiting for this thing to break out. You also have to have the ability to exit yielding instruments to purchase said Link on a breakout, so you got to keep that in mind. So maybe set alerts appropriately or something. But there's also this. If we want to just add like another line to this chart, you know, there's also this massive diagonal. I still think 8-ish is probably the level to get excited about. Looks a heck of a lot better than most of crypto. The only thing that looks better than this is probably Maker, but that trade is already kind of come and gone from my perspective. But it looks good, you know. This is what you want to see for a bottoming process. This is where things happen, you know. Things happen when you've bottomed for a year and a half. Link BTC, it made a higher high at the very least. I don't know, but all I really see on most of these charts is just this downward channel. you could argue, as I have on videos before, like maybe this is a falling wedge or something, right? That we're getting ready to break out, bust up above. If you're actually trading this, any one of these peaks would be resistance. I know my scale doesn't make sense, but any one of those highs would be like the next level on the ladder, just based on previous resistance. But again, it's not making lows. It doesn't look like death, unlike almost every other chart in crypto. All right, XMR, because I know there are many XMR enjoyers in chat. And again, it is not making lower lows. It did not fulfill its destiny on this head and shoulders at the bottom of our range. I don't hate it, you know. Is it dead money? Is it just gonna chop you up if you're just holding this? Maybe. There's just no conviction with something like this, right? It's in a range. It's been in a range for over a year. You could set an alert at, what is that, 170? I will not say 69 on stream, okay? It's 170. It's definitely 170. And then get excited at 170, right? Or DCA sub 135 or something. But in the moment, doesn't look too excitable, right? XMR BTC actually had one of the better looking charts. I will take a look at Rune as well. XMR BTC had one of the better looking charts that still looks good to me. Inverted head and shoulders, obviously, for those who are unaware of the pattern. What does the cloud look like for this? Yeah, so the daily cloud gives you the breakout with the pattern. I don't hate it. Now, does that mean that the USD value is going to exceed Bitcoin? No, it could just hold, right? XMR USD could just hold flat while Bitcoin is declining, and that's how you gain value here. But if you're trading on this pair, then you're making money, right? You're at least preserving your purchasing power or whatever, right? So this actually does look really good. It's probably one of the best charts. I should just make myself a note. Need to collect the clout on that because I tweeted it out like 2 or 3 weeks ago. But this looks good. You know, where could it go? We could measure using fibs. Take some level, say there. I gotta fix my scale. Let's go. Is that 8? I don't even know. Whatever. It doesn't even matter. 65? 0065? 0069 might be the maximum. I just feel like it'd be weird for Monero to break out unless Bitcoin was doing something, but there's like this darknet market argument, I'm sure. You know, alternatively, you could just draw this thing as just a flat line and say it hasn't broken out yet. That's okay too. But the cloud is on its side, and I assume the 5200 cross. Yeah, so the 5200 almost is a full-blown bull cross here. So it looks good. It definitely looks good. Definitely looks better than pretty much anything on a BTC pair. Let me just add Rune to the list so I don't forget. So those are probably the strongest alts. Let's take a look at some not so strong alts, huh? Someone asked me about the Theta token. I gotta look at that on TradingView. Dash. I'll take a look at this on TradingView too, but you know, the problem is, chat, the problem is, who is buying Dash and why? I don't know. Who would be selling Dash here? Anyone who's scared that this goes lower, which would be most people. So I don't know. I don't know who's buying this. It's the same with Zcash, right? There are still people who are holding out for this thing. The best thing Zcash could do is to just get absorbed as an ERC20, reissue a token on ETH, fix the tokenomics, do something, because this chain is in trouble. I don't know, you know? The good thing for Zcash is it's listed widely and probably will never die because it's on an exchange. But what are we doing? You know, what are we doing? All right, FTM. I think that's an exchange token, right? No, that's Phantom. My bad. Phantom. And it's real simple, folks. Real simple. Why are we holding things that are making month over month, week over week, day over day lows? And what are you waiting for? I think some people get to the point where they're just in it so deep that they don't know what to do. You know, they've been holding since all-time high. And look, I get it. I understand. I'm not telling you to sell down here. I'm just saying don't expect anything amazing to happen anytime super soon. You're probably just hoping for a washout of some kind. I don't even know what you do in this situation, but correct, Dave. Don't get me started on Zcash. I used to write articles for Brave New Coin, and these Zcash people would hate me because I was what I think was telling the truth. But the privacy components of Zcash are shut off on the exchange side. So yes, it has an exchange, or it has a privacy component, but I don't think the data set is big enough to actually preserve privacy. That's a whole nother conversation. Anyway. So yeah, FTM, no. I mean, just for S's and G's, what does it look like on the BTC pair? Is there not even a BTC pair? There's not even a BTC pair. Oh boy. Oh boy. Caspa. All right, the long-awaited Caspa. I gotta go to Training View for that. I'll come back to that one. Quant. QNT. You know, my question for people is, this isn't like to berate anybody, but you know, what do you expect me to say? You expect me to say that this is like a bullish resolution or something? I guess maybe if you're like looking for a general opinion on trend. I don't need to see the cloud. I know what the cloud's going to look like, but yeah, it's bearish. It's below anything that matters, you know? It kind of broke down slowly from this head and shoulders and just hasn't looked back. For any of these charts that haven't hit their kind of listing lows or 2021 lows, that could be a zone to watch in the future. If you measure this head and shoulders, it's probably like off the charts to zero, right? So it doesn't really help you. But certainly not bullish on the quant chart. I think, was it quant BTC they wanted me to look at too? I'll have to go to Training View for that. But yeah, you know, that's not a chart that's going to hold up well. Oh man, RPL. What is this? What is this? You know, again, what do you want me to say, folks? You had some sort of something up here, right? Distribution event. I don't know if it's white coffee in, but yuck. Yuck, yuck, yuck. I don't know. It's aggressively bearish, right? I mean, if anybody else sees anything that I don't, just let me know. But I don't know where this saves itself. Listing lows, you know, 10, 14, I don't know. AKT. This one is kind of a chart that has already done its thing, right? You know, you could argue some sort of white coffee and accumulation over the previous, what is that, 8 months or something? Markup phase. win again, but I think this trade idea is over for now on AKT. So that isn't saying it makes new all-time lows, but I just think the targets have been hit. The accumulation upside potential has been expunged or filled or finished, right? Whatever. And so it just doesn't look. What's up, Builder? It just doesn't look like it wants to keep going, right? To me, it doesn't look like bullish continuation up here. Render. This is the AI play or something, right? So unlike AKT, again, you have like your accumulation, like coffee and thing. You've got maybe a flag. Then you've got head and shoulders that broke down. Now it's kind of just ranging a little bit. Didn't quite hit the target on the head and shoulders. I mean, it stopped making lower lows. It's retesting the 200-day. I wouldn't buy it with confidence, but it doesn't look horrible. It's no RPL. That's for sure. It's no RPL. You're right, Patrick. Monero has issues, privacy issues as well, potentially. Nothing's perfect. So yeah, render doesn't look horrible. I'd probably keep an eye on that. It's kind of like Bitcoin at 28K, where it needs to get above 195. You could set an alert at like 195. It's not for me, but I can see an argument there to watch that. OP optimism. Oh my goodness. Let me just find a chart that makes sense. Candles. Let's turn this off. Yeah, we'll check that one on TradingView because it's probably not the full data, but I mean, this is probably just inflation or emissions taking hold, right? This is people selling. What do you want me to say? It doesn't look like it's bottoming, right? There's probably coin unlocks happening. You can always check. Let's just do that right now. You can check DeFi Llama for this stuff. Let's go to, they have a tab for this somewhere, right? Unlocks. Optimism Foundation. In 17 days, more gets unlocked. So, you're dealing with stuff like this constantly, whether it's the foundation, whether they're going to sell or hold, I don't care, right? It's just, there's just more supply, nonstop. VC supply, foundation supply. And when there's nobody on the other side of that equation, price just continues to go lower, right? Rune, let's take a look at Rune. Rune had been doing pretty well, I thought. And yeah, I mean, you had your Adam and Eve down here. You had a reaccumulation up here. And everything just selling off now, right? You had a mega bear div on those higher highs. You had higher highs on less momentum. Looks very, very angry right now. Maybe a 200-day retest, 131. I don't see any setups remaining here personally. Another thing you can always look at in a range, take the high, take the low. And the 50% level is hard to see, but it's at 136. So this could just be a general mean reversion type situation. Back to 137, 133, whatever the 200-day is there. Doesn't look happy though. I'll give you that. Exactly, Joey. More gets unlocked with no demand This is great. Bullish unlocks, huge, right? KDA, is that's not, I'll go to that one on. Gotta make a list. KDA, no, what was the other one? Quant BTC, someone wanted me to look at. What is this one? KDA, okay, and LMT. Okay, I'll check that on TradingView. A0, never heard of that one. Check that one on TradingView. All right, let's go back to the TradingView. Find myself a chart I can write on. Ugh, yuck, 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 all over the place. All right, KDA. Kadena. Let's go to Binance. That's the other question, you know. Can we say that the gorilla in the room? Sorry, I'm bouncing between 50,000 charts. The gorilla in the room, if I can find it. This thing, you know. Is Binance gonna magically save itself here on a token price level? This is kind of like the regional banks, right? If the regional bank stock starts to sell off, people get nervous. Are my deposits safe? Does this sound familiar? Are my coins on Binance safe, right? Then we get this bank run situation, which admittedly Binance probably fine. They've got tons of reserves. They'll probably be okay. But why risk it? That's just me, okay? That's just me. From a TA perspective, Binance looks unwell, but so does the rest of the market. You know, this isn't like Binance's fault, but BNB does not look healthy here at lows. It looks like it wants to test 200 at the very least, right? So, you know, Joey, I'm a chaos maximalist, and look, if you've got the coins that you say you do on reserve and you experience some type of bank run, your exchange should be fine, right? It shouldn't be an issue, right? When Tether had a bank run or has a bank run or has attempted bank runs, if they're able to redeem, great, right? It's another way of experiencing proof of reserves. Do you have what the on-chain picture shows that you have, you know, relative to your liabilities? So I haven't done Matic yet. I'll look at that, Kyle. So the question is, if this sells off, if Binance sells off, does everything just go to zero? Like, keep that in mind. You know, it's that we're so back, it's so over. Sorry. We're so back, it's so over meme, where it's like, you know, we could get some positive news on the ETF side. We're so back, and then like something on Binance could explode, and it's so over and drags the rest of the market with it. Anyway, that's Binance. So you kind of have to trade around this, I think, and to be loading the boat or adding size to any altcoin without knowing where BNB sits. This is why it's just like on my panel every day that when I look at BNB just to see, right, where is it at, tracking it constantly. Anyway, so I would pay attention to that. KDA, man. I mean, again, I'm not laughing at you, but I'm laughing with you. We're laughing together. I don't know, right? Like, it doesn't look bullish. Let me turn this off. Is it oversold? No. Is there a bull div growing potentially? Is this a falling wedge potentially? I suspect, like almost everything, the issuance, the inflation is just eating this thing alive, right? I don't know anything about what this is, but that's my guess. Just, it looks like Zcash, right? Down only forever. I don't see anything bullish about this. All right, so when we look at OP on the weekly pitchfork. Okay. Is there a weekly pitchfork? Is there enough data for that? Isn't that what you said? Optimism, please do a weekly pitchfork. Yeah, I don't see that. I'm the pitchfork expert. I'm kidding. I just don't see a pitchfork. Man, where the heck? Every time I'm looking for the channel thing, I cannot find it. Is it up here? It's got to be. Yeah. Okay. Like, do we draw some sort of channel like that? I don't know. I'll tell you what you don't want to see. You never, ever, ever want to see anything that looks like a head and shoulders. I don't care what people tell you about chart patterns. I don't care what you know about chart patterns. I don't care what you think you know about chart patterns. You never want to see triple tops if you're bullish. You never want to see lower lows if you're bullish, okay? That's a great rule. This looks all sorts of nasty. Oh, maybe you're talking about this pitchfork. Hold on. This one here, right? Is it this? Is that what you're talking about? I don't know. Maybe it's like this. I mean, none of these are good pitchforks for you if you're bullish. Look, you just don't want to see the exact stuff, right? You don't want to see constantly making these like curved, it's simple. There was this study that I read years ago talking about convex versus concave prices. And it is a self-fulfilling prophecy, okay? So look, this is not something that looks bullish at all, unfortunately. And I'm sure the cloud agrees with me. If I can find the cloud here. Yeah. So until it's back above the cloud, at the very least, right? Maybe there's a daily bull div. Not quite. No, you're still getting lower lows. It kind of looks like LTC to me, even though it's way below. I don't know, I'm just drawing lines. But LTC is a massive diagonal support that I haven't seen too many people talking about, that it looks like it's ready to drop below. It just does not look happy right now. It's a pretty gnarly, what is that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 year diagonal. It's bounce or die. Yeah, Victor, I'll try to find it. It's exactly what you'd expect, right? Like if prices are making this curvature, then there's not this expectation of higher highs, right? I mean, it's just self-fulfilling at some point. Anyway, doesn't look good. Look, I wish I could come on here and say, oh, these charts look amazing. We're all going to be Lambos worth of rich, multiple Lambos. But just not the case right now, unfortunately. I'm kind of curious what the YouTubers, the permabulls, the YouTubers are saying. I haven't seen any recently, but yeah, it doesn't look too hot. I guess we'll talk about legacy in the end here. The same song and dance. Dollar's still bullish. It looked like it was going to retrace potentially. This still could. Let's take that off. This still could make a triple top and break down. It's not completely over for risk, it's just the dollar has looked entirely ready to go. It just refuses to break down, right? See, that's not good for risk. Yields go higher, TLT goes lower, right? All this stuff. But maybe this is a head and shoulders eventually. Something to watch for next week. You know, it didn't quite collapse entirely. So you got to watch out for that if you're bullish on the crypto side. On oil, again, kind of a surprise that our US production numbers were where they were. And to me, kind of indicates in the moment, like we're going to be okay, even with this Middle East thing. Now, let's say this ramps up and it becomes World War III and Iran gets involved and it just goes from bad to worse, or worse to, you know, even more worse. Then sure, oil could turn a corner and keep going. But much like some of these crypto charts I was talking about, like the trade idea based on the consolidation levels being hit, like I don't see a pattern here, and it's certainly best for the inflation picture if this just rolls over or doesn't do anything, you know. Speaking of inflation, I said I'd talk about this real quick. Trueflation is flat and down, which is good for us. CPI came in today slightly up, but this is from Wall Street Journal. You know, look, we're all feeling inflation is insanely high. Everybody knows that. The good news is it's not speeding up a lot. It's speeding up a little bit. And this is the Fed. Probabilities for the next meeting, they're probably not going to raise. So that's good news. And the oil is kind of a mega massive variable relative to the geopolitical picture. This just doesn't look like something, you know, doesn't look like something that wants to scream to 100 like people were calling for. People crying about the SPR, you know, yada yada, that I see every day on Twitter. But in the moment, I think oil is just kind of noise. I don't even know levels to watch. Like it's so choppy. I don't think there's a trade here at all. No, I don't, which is good. That's what we want. We want oil to be boring, flat, you know, not exciting. That's good. On the equities side, picture hasn't really changed. We bounced on the 200-day. Great. We're still in the daily cloud, which is neutral. This very easily could roll over below the cloud again. The cloud could flip bullish. It's been the cloud could flip bearish. It's been bullish since the beginning of the year. And one thing to watch for, either double bottom, right? We're talking like into November at this point. Double bottom, inverted head and shoulders that I'll try not to draw like a certain image. You know, it's got time to figure itself out. I still think it's chop. I still think this is short-term treasury season or whatever your appropriate fixed income vehicle. I don't think it's play the S&P right now, at least not for me. The Qs look a little bit different. They're back above the cloud. And if tech can get a bullish TK cross with the price above cloud, yeah, I like rotating out of short-term treasuries a little bit. I'm still kind of like uneasy about that play because I feel like this is super crowded and everybody's into tech, but just based on the cloud, you know, it looks okay. And let me just talk about the Elite 8, as I like to call them, real quick. If you guys want to see anything else, just let me know in the chat, but kind of wrapping it up here. Let's go down the list. Apple, unexciting. You know, anything that's ranging for me, I would rather risk the no risk trade, you know, the opportunity cost of being in yield, than sitting in whatever this is and getting chopped up, right? Like it's bounced, it had a div, looks okay. Ultimately, you want it back above the cloud. So 184, maybe there's a play there. We'll talk about it, but in the moment, not really seeing it. Microsoft, kind of the same thing. They just got hit with a $28 billion fine for back taxes, potentially. So that's something to watch out for as well. But kind of mirroring Apple. Looks very similar. Needs to get back above the cloud. Still neutral, ranging, choppy. NVIDIA had that hidden bull div. And as crazy as this sounds, may get its TK cross above the cloud, right? At some point, you know, the plane is flying up. The plane is flying up. And at some point, the plane's going to stall and just, you know, stairs up, elevator down. Timing that is difficult. And this thing could just ascending wedge, hit the resistance, bounce back, hit the support over and over and over and over again. You know, so it's tough to be a hero and want to try to short that. This pattern looks real, as does the potential continuation on the cloud. Google had a rising wedge. Google sort of broke down, but now it's back up again, you know? So it's kind of a mess. Certainly looks better than a lot of this stuff, right? It's making new highs at the very least, you know, that's good. Just to talk about the cup and handle stuff real quick. You know, this is a potential too. I don't think it's like something a lot of people are discussing, but the potential for new all-time highs, how crazy would that be? We're in two wars. We got inflation to infinity, whatever. An all-time high retest on tech. Would that be crazy? You tell me. I don't know. I think everybody is always default bullish stocks and equities, so it's hard to really gauge what people think, honestly. But that'd be pretty wild. Yeah, I'll look at Lilly real quick. GLP-1, Ozempic, you know. This thing, so it looks ridiculous because it is. The issue is we're talking about a drug that affects potentially 100% of people, you know, not only with weight loss, but with addiction, with all sorts of stuff. You know, it changed. This is potentially unlike AI, right? This is kind of like AI versus Ozempic, right? Ozempic has changed the world arguably more than AI has in the moment. Anyway, the question is like, okay, like is enough up here? My whole thing with these biotech drugs that everybody takes is like, when's the class action lawsuit going to hit, or when's the reality going to set in that this stuff is problematic in some way, you know? But I hope not. I hope it's a massive net positive for everybody, and it just goes higher. Look, it's just insane, you know, absolutely insane. What is the percentage here from the low? 2,000%. There's your bull run. 2,000% from the low. Looks really, really good. Still, it hasn't broken down from the parabola. You can also see, you know, I would argue, obviously hindsight, but cup and handle started this whole thing off. 2618, 3618, 7618. It's past the 7618 of the cup and handle. Anyway, it's probably past like the yearly pivot too. It's on yearly, is it not? Oh, yeah. So it's at the R4 of the yearly pivot. Anyway, chart looks insane. I would not want to hop into that thing here. And the problem is, if this thing starts to sell off, where does it find support? You know, I don't know. There are levels you can look at on the way down, but man, wild chart, absolutely wild. Anyway, so I do like Google better than Microsoft and Apple, better than Nvidia, even Tesla. Just ranging, unexciting. I don't see anything pressing or critical there. It is trying to get back above the weekly cloud. I don't know. I don't really see a trade there in the moment, or even a setup to watch other than that triangle. Now, Meta, I talked about this on Sunday, I think, but on cloud, you know, this thing looks really, really good, regardless of your feelings of Facebook. This thing looks really, really good on trend. It never really got inside the cloud, and it has a bullish TK recross. So it looks much better than the rest of the group. Yes, you can connect Kraken to your bank. Depending on where you are in the world, obviously, it's going to be regional dependent, but yes. Netflix. Oof, 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 oof. Man, these yearly pivots are killing me. You know, look, this does not look like Google or Meta. Looks like some of the alts that are selling off. Looks ugly, you know. Speaking of ugly, what does Disney look like today? Talking about a chart that is just max pain. You know, yikes. Right? But we can go down the list as much as I laugh about Disney. McDonald's. You know, this is the scare for something like Eli Lilly, where it's just been up only for like 3 decades, and then all of a sudden just starts to sell off. Target also does not look good, right? Walmart actually looks okay, I guess. It's holding highs at the very least. Anyway, Amazon. Amazon looks like Microsoft and Apple to me, with a sprinkle of Nvidia. Neutral, needs to be back above the cloud. Not something I'd want to throw money into here. Costco is another one. What is it? Is it this? Yeah. Costco actually looks okay relative to some of these other charts. Do I think it's necessarily going anywhere? I don't know, but you know, it looks better than a lot of this stuff. Maybe, you know what I'm gonna say. Maybe this. I don't know. Looks okay though. So there are places you can go. There are things that look decent. Let me just mention GBTC and ETH real quick. GBTC still has an unfilled gap. Still has this, you know, inverted head and shoulders quality to it. Tomorrow's the day. If this is going to happen, it's tomorrow. You know, if I'm betting on anything going higher, it's GBTC tomorrow, in the hopes that the SEC says nothing and they don't appeal the ruling. The other one is ETH. Also looks much better than spot. You know, it's a mess, but it's not making lows. It's consolidating, it's flat. Could argue, again, inverted head and shoulders. I know people get sick about me mentioning that, but Looks better than spot, that's for sure. TA book recommendations. People have asked me that a lot over the years. I've thought about putting something together as like an ebook. If you go to the pinned tweet on my Twitter, you'll see a Medium article where I kind of just spitball about TA a lot. That's something to look at if you're just brand new. But obviously my YouTube videos, there's a ton of stuff. Anything else before we head off for the day? I don't think so. So neutral across the board, kind of just waiting for news. Yields are really, really good. I don't know. That's it, really, right? Nothing else going on. We want to see Binance not go to 100, right? I don't want to see Binance fail. I just think something's going to happen, okay? We want to see Bitcoin back above 28. That's the level to watch, 100%. We want to see ETH, I don't know, what do we say, 1780? This thing just looks completely dead to me. We don't want to see the dollar going higher, even though it wants to. And I didn't talk about gold, but it started to break down, kind of retraced a little bit. It, I don't know where I was drawing this from, but anyway, it may continue to break down. You know, I know a lot of people are celebrating real yields going down. This is back to the yield conversation at the beginning. If real yields go higher, you expect gold to go lower. That's just historically been the correlation. Thanks, everybody. Oh, Caspa. Let me look at that real quick. I guess I didn't. Did I not look at that one? Maybe I didn't. I think Matthew would kill me. What is even the ticker for this? KuCoin? Sure. Double top. First impressions. One bite, everybody knows the rules. I don't have too much to say here, honestly. Not a lot of trading data. Clearly had, you know, Adam Eve at the bottom. Had a nice little head and shoulders here, broke down, kind of recovered, little like low time frame double bottom. This looks like bearish to me in the moment. Doesn't look like anything I want to touch. You know, either this is a diamond top or a triple top. It actually went above that, so it nullified that pattern, but then proceeded to make another double top and broke down. It's a mess. It's a massive mess. I don't have anything specific to say about it. Bearish on low time frames. You would want to see this thing back above the previous local high, so anything above whatever that is, 5 cents. 5 cents in party. You know, this is the level to watch. Otherwise, big chop. Big chop. Thanks, Builder. Thanks, Joey, for stopping by. Dave, Yada, Patelga, obviously, OG, Andy. Thanks for all the questions. If you're watching this on the live stream later, the recording, feel free to leave a comment, like, dislike, comment, share, subscribe, do whatever, you know, the things you usually do, you good people. And we'll see Sunday for Setup Sunday, potentially a live stream with Ledger tomorrow if he is free. Otherwise, have a good weekend.